Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Alex Lee, Paul Bratslavsky, and Bobby Davis.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for subscribing or watching us on YouTube if you're watching us there. I ask you to do just one thing if you could. If you could share this podcast with somebody, we would love you to do that. Podcast discovery isn't as good as YouTube discovery, so if you could share it with somebody, that's a way for us to kind of grow our podcast and get people listening to us, so you can all listen to Paul's dad jokes every week, and you can share those jokes with all your friends. Okay, let's jump into our tech topics for this week. First thing I want to talk about is crypto mining. So crypto mining, just to kind of like lay the groundwork for this a little bit. Crypto mining is the process of basically mining a cryptocurrency, right? Use a computer, usually a specific piece of hardware. Either a high-end GPU is used, think 3090, 4090, kind of high-end $1,500 graphics card kind of area, right? Very expensive stuff. Or these ASIC machines that are like these special built machines that are built for crypto. It's all they do. They just mine cryptocurrency, right? So it's this process of basically these machines, they solve these mathematical equations, just to simplify this a little bit. They solve these equations and they create the blocks on the blockchain, right? That's kind of what happens. So the downside to crypto mining is that it's kind of expensive in terms of energy costs, right? There's some points in time where mining cryptocurrency costs more in energy than it does your output at the other end. So you actually make nothing. You can actually lose money by mining this. So I wanted to bring this up because there was a recent story put out where I'm going to call him a janitor. He was listed as, his official job title was Assistant Facilities Director.
Janitor.
Assistant to the janitor, maybe? I don't think he's a full-fledged janitor. I think he's an assistant to the janitor. This is the classic assistant to the manager, right? Manager's assistant. The old Dwight Schrute joke. But he was in a school and he basically hid a bunch of these crypto miners in a crawl space in the school.
They're not cheap, by the way. I just want to say that. I'm looking at the picture. There's a lot.
There's a lot. I didn't say how many in the story, but it looks like about 15 or something of these things. And he had these ASIC machines.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
That are kind of expensive. They're hundreds of dollars a piece. But obviously,
thousands.
He would have been making money, right? Because he was basically stealing the energy from somebody else. Is this the only way to make money with crypto?
I think it's just a shame he got caught. I think that's what it is. I think he had a good system going. I think he's a genius. He had a master plan. You know, like it reminds me of the time I told my mom, like, hey, mom, because I moved out a long time ago. I was like, hey, I have a bunch of computers. Can I like leave them at your house? Like they just will stay there and do nothing. You know, crypto mining.
I actually had a crypto miner at my last apartment in New York City, and I had free electricity, so I just said, "Why not?" So I bought one just to see and test it out.
Yeah,
and I kid you not, these things are so loud. So what I did was I had to buy a ice box, like those water cooler like ice box, and then you basically like put their miner in there and cover it up so you could at least reduce the sound, and then you have to have like the air come in and the heat come out basically. So you had like these two big like the picture, like those like things that are coming in and coming out, and even then it was so loud. So I can't even imagine how you could have like 15 or 16 of them and not notice.
Did you get
how loud
any coins though? That's what we all care about. We don't care about.
I did. I mean, I was part of a mining pool, so of course I would always get a little bit of whatever was won based on like the hash rate and everything. But even then, it wasn't worth it because even though I had free electricity, it was just so loud. It just was not worth the living condition that I was in. So
it's loud because of the heat that it pushes off, right? It's loud because of the heat that it pushes off, because of the computation that it's doing, and then the fans that it's running, right? It's just the fans.
Yeah, I mean, these fans are going wild.
Right.
Yeah.
These fans are going wild like the whole time, and it just doesn't stop. So it's a nice heater during the wintertime, but other than that, it's just I thought there would be a lot more exciting things around it. So I was excited about like setting it up and all of those things. But once it's on and you just leave it alone, so it doesn't really do too much. So this person was kind of a genius, but
so Alex,
until you get caught.
So tell me this. I got a question though. So this is what everyone's going to want to know. That they're like, okay, it's loud, and they'd say, but I'll put up with the noise. I'll put up with the heat. I'll steal electricity. If you're in a mining pool, how much money did you make off your one miner? Like, Like, did you make
that's
$5
the
or
problem.
$5,000 or $1 million, or what did you make?
I think it was like a couple $100
Okay.
by within a year,
A
I
year.
guess, or like a less. Like there were moments
Right.
there were moments where I would just turn it off. Like I was
Okay.
like, dude, I need to
It's
go
like,
to
I
sleep.
gotta
Or
sleep.
you know, it was getting, or guests were coming over, so you just don't want to like show this cooler just like in the middle of the living room, right? Because I lived in a studio, so it wasn't like I had an extra room
Right.
to just put it somewhere. Like this person had the best space to hide it, right? In
Right.
some regards, out of sight, out of mind, right? Like I think that's the way to go. So this is why maybe I was so intrigued for this episode. And I was like, I have to be on this episode because of this experience of mine. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm actually surprised the school didn't notice the electricity cost or the increase in electricity
Yeah.
cost.
Just assumed.
Maybe they did. Maybe that's how they got found, because
Yeah.
it doesn't really say how it was found, right? I don't think
Yeah,
the story
they
mentions how it
were
was found. So
alerted
maybe they
to
did
it,
notice.
probably.
Yeah, maybe they did notice the jump in electricity.
Mhm.
So that's probably what it is. So yeah, there are corporations that are dedicated to doing this, right? They have like these basically containers set up where they have tens of thousands of these machines that run this thing. So it is a profitable business on some level.
At scale.
You just have to scale it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Scale is the thing. If you can make $100 with one machine in a year, make 30,000 of them, now you start talking about money. But there are points where I've seen people will say, well, I've turned mine off because it costs more. The power costs more than what I'm getting in Bitcoin back.
You used to be able to make more money.
There's too many variabilities. Like, yeah, you could scale it properly, supposedly, but then if the price dumps, then
Yeah, you're in trouble.
no matter how much you're scaling or no matter how good your electricity price is,
Yep.
it just doesn't make sense. So most of these miners, they're selling immediately after they mine their coins because they have to pay the bill. Like the bills aren't going to pay for themselves. So it's not like they're waiting and like hodling until the Bitcoin goes up. Like someone has to pay the electricity bill.
Yeah.
It's literally they're running in the negative.
And for individuals, it doesn't even make sense to mine anymore because, at least for Ethereum, they changed how everything works. Prior to the change, my friend and I, we ran a thing for like about a year. We had like a bunch of graphics cards. We made like 4,000, but also the market was good, you know? And then he like literally sold it just in time and everything crashed. And then they changed like the way Ethereum works. And now it's just like makes no sense. It's pointless.
Right. And even the way that Bitcoin works too. So they have Bitcoin has this finite number of tokens that can be minted, right? So it has they have this thing called the halving, where every so many that are created, it halves the value. It's like, it's kind of weird. Plus the fluctuation in crypto in general, it's just a bigger problem. It's just a bigger problem just in general, how much it fluctuates. Bitcoin one day can be worth $80,000 and the next it's worth 40. It's kind of nuts. The fluctuation doesn't make it a currency that you can use to buy a pizza or a cup of coffee.
You can, so.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, it's not 80 to a 20. It's like kind of like a gradual, but yeah, I do agree. Like
it is, but
it's
we're talking
still
over
unheard
a
of
year,
in like normal markets.
Exactly. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So what people don't realize too is that here at the boot camp, we were using Heroku, and then Heroku had free plans. You guys know there were some free plans we could publish things to students, and they suddenly just announced we're not doing that anymore. And we're like, what the heck? Like, why did you end your free plan? Everybody thought, well, they've acquired customers, and so now they don't have to offer free plans or whatever. But it was due to a large part of it was due to crypto mining, that people were signing up for these free and just in like nuts volume and running mining operations on crypto. So now, even if you sign up for Azure, AWS, or anything like that, they're going to say no crypto. Like you can't run a crypto mine on a cloud service unless unless they expressly prohibit it, especially on free ones. So you can see in the terms of service for who we've switched over to Railway, you can see the Railway terms of service. I remember when I'm signed up for it, I read through there and they're like, no crypto mining. So, and theirs aren't free. They have some cost associated with them. But even in a cheap plan, the crypto miner might still go, oh, that's better than me paying the electricity. So I'm still going to use it. And that's why, so it's kind of like, why did they get rid of their free plans? These crypto miners, man.
Thinking out loud, I was like, man, there's got to be an easier way. So I figured it out. I'm going to tell people, I'm giving away free computers to like the first 100 customers. They're yours to keep. You could do whatever the hell you want with them. But under the hood,
just leave them running.
Under the hood, yeah, exactly. The only thing you can do is just never turn them off. Don't worry about it. They're completely free. You got this, perfectly fine. Anybody wants to jump in on that? We just buy like 20, give them out. No, you use this. No, don't want to go to jail or anything. No,
no electricity goes through the roof, and they got this giant fan noise from their bedroom.
Bad idea. Forget about it. I just think it out loud. You know.
This is a story for next week.
I'll stick to my job. You know.
You know what's really funny? It's like this concept of free mining, because in some ways, like, I don't know if you know the whole like crypto mining business in general. Like, there's only a few people that sell these,
right?
But before they actually sell it, they use these machines to the max limit, as in they basically are like, they have a monopoly on getting the best hash rate earlier than later. So if you look at the profitability calculators, it's always like really good, and it just starts dipping because the next machine is just going to be that much better. But if it's free electricity, then why not, right? So I think I get the kind of incentive behind why this person did it, is because like there's no cost associated. So you're just getting, and you just, once you set it up, you leave it alone. So that's why even for me, I had free electricity. The only problem was that it was just so loud. But other than that, it just kind of like makes sense because you don't really do much after. But yeah, it's just, I just think it's so funny that he got caught. I don't even know how you could get away with it. Like, Kevin, maybe you should just bring one miner into Coder Foundry and then like slowly
to hear how, exactly.
Like you just like dig in the backyard or something and then see if you go.
You know what? The new place has soundproofing. So I could stick them up in the roof.
There you
like
go.
Nobody will ever know. I was like, man, the electricity bill here is through the roof.
Right.
Like, that's
but
crypto.
Exactly, right.
But Kevin knows our accountant, so like they would know like within like 3 weeks. It's like, hey, they'd call me like, so why was the electric bill $25,000 this month? We're like, I don't know. Let me look.
There was nothing in the terms and conditions in the job.
All right, I have a slightly better idea that's better than going to jail. Everybody likes hot yoga. Everybody likes spinning class, right? So you got a spinning class in one room. You hook it up to all the miners. People power with it like feet power, and all the heat goes to do the hot yoga. You charge everybody money. You're making money off the business. You're mining crypto. People are happy, exercising, losing weight, losing stress, and you're just living in the bank.
So you're pitching that to Peloton next week. Is that what you're going to do?
Exactly. If I'm not here tomorrow, next week, that's what happened. Peloton was like, listen, this is a brilliant idea, putting crypto miners in our bikes.
Peloton Crypto Edition. I like it.
You know what's even funnier? Like, this is just physical devices that was using free electricity. There was a thing called Coin Hive. And basically what it would do was it would basically inject this JavaScript into like a person's in the site itself. So every time you visit it, it basically hijacked your computer and would use your computer as a miner that way. And it was just like spreading across like all over the world. And eventually they got caught, but it was just kind of crazy how anybody's trying to find a way to make a little bit of money is what I learned.
So one thing that I find interesting about this is the allure of free money, which is like what people do. They'll go to great lengths to get free money and then lose the job that was actually making the money, or even spend a lot of money on equipment. You know, he had to buy the equipment and then the electricity, and it's a lot of people, when they evaluate free, they never evaluate the total cost of what this is really going to cost me to do. Like, you know, you got to plug it in. You know, you got to buy the miner itself. That's why I was always curious, like how much those things actually make. And if you put it in a P&L, I know I'm boring. I put things in a P&L, but like I put it in a P&L, like, all right, how's my mining business working? We made $30 last year. Great. Okay.
It's not worth it.
It's not. So, and this guy, you're right. This guy was definitely not worth it because I'm sure he lost his job over this. Right? I mean,
he lost his job. Yeah. That's like me and Kevin. We
maybe he should got promoted.
Yeah, we made an NFT one time just to see kind of like, does it work? Can you actually sell these? And we made a great one. We made a Mr. Taco Cat NFT.
That's a good one.
But by the time we paid the artist to do it, which we went about it with, if you're no one, this is what people would say, you can sell an NFT and make millions of dollars. So we're graphic designers. We could have made our own, but we went to the effort of, we went out to Fiverr, found a guy to make us an NFT, a custom one, and then we listed it on the exchange. So we spent $140 total.
Something like that.
Yeah. Once it got out to the exchange, bought the Ethereum and that kind of stuff. And then it sold for right at $140.
Yeah, it was like a little bit less, wasn't it?
I think we lost $5 or we lost 10, you know, and it's just like, wow, some people did make money in that market, the vast majority of the people with the allure of free money lost money doing that. And I think that's what most miners have probably, if you went and talked to 1,000 miners, you'd say one or two found a way to make it profitable, but 90% of them didn't make money. And so I think, as Alex always says, skills pay the bills, and we should focus on like skills versus trying to like get a free buck somehow, some way, which is, you know, it leads me to other things like prompt engineering. Like that's a job. Like that's what we need to do. You know, like that's the next free thing that people think that they can do it. So
we'll get to the AI topic.
We'll get that in a second. I don't get me started.
I was going to quickly say, like, we could have a whole show about NFTs, and I'm wondering, like, you know, how many NFTs were legit and how many were scams, and what's the, you know, ratio to that? That's what I'm curious about. It's like,
bro, I've lost a bit with NFTs, and I'll be the first to say it. It's some are legit, many are not.
Exactly.
I think that's the way to put it.
Ours was legit in that,
some survive and many don't.
Yeah.
But there's no value, intrinsic value to Mr. Taco Cat that we could see. We just wanted to see if people thought that they would buy it, because we were more interested in the human condition of why people do this. Like, I don't know why people would pay thousands and thousands or $100,000 for a purple gorilla. I never understood it. Like, I don't get it, you know. But
I think the main problem with y'all's NFT is you guys didn't really do anything beyond the art and creation. I think there's an aspect of it that provides a lot more value. It's the community and like what it's like a pass almost. Like if this Taco Cat gave me free access to Coder Foundry Bootcamp for the rest of my life or something, like, you know, then there's a lot of intrinsic value associated with the ownership of the NFT. Right. But like the NFT art itself, unless you're like, and again, you hired someone from Fiverr. This isn't like Banksy or anything, right? So like there's a lot of aspects where if you want like a standalone NFT, you need a really great artist. Right. If you don't have a standalone NFT, then you need to do a lot more. So just like, you know, coding bootcamps, and why don't you just learn by yourself? Like there's a community aspect of like building connections that way. So there is a lot of intrinsic value, but you just got to build it. Otherwise, yeah, like what would you expect from that single moment in time, right? And that's just,
right. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. Next topic I want to talk about is Meta's AR VR hardware roadmap kind of came out. They kind of pushed this thing out for where they're going with AR and VR. I know some of us are kind of bullish on AR VR, maybe variations of it, maybe not. So it looks like we're going to get a Quest 3 this year, kind of semi-confirmed, that is going to be twice as powerful and half the size. Love that.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm in for that. I don't know. I'm in for that. Well, benchmarks, you know. I mean, I would guess a next generation thing's probably twice as powerful. I could see that. Half as big, like not as sticky off your face, I guess, because they do sit out a little bit from your head. So that'll be nice too. We know that's possible because we talked about another VR headset, the PC VR headset before, that was very, very small. And a little more than current pricing was the rumor too. Like it's a little more, but not a lot more. So we're talking $400-$500 kind of range, which is kind of nice.
It's like a PlayStation VR.
And also more, right, exactly. More mixed reality. So more Quest Pro-ish. So I'm guessing what they mean by that is it's going to have the same kind of pass-through, color pass-through that Quest Pro has, not the black and white pass-through that Quest 2 has. Because the black and white pass-through Quest 2 is barely passable, right? It lets you see the room around you, but you can't see in very much detail. You can kind of see big objects, you can kind of see things, but you can't really see, you couldn't read through it, right? Whereas Quest Pro, I think you can actually almost read through the cameras. It's pretty cool. So I think we're going to see that kind of come to Quest 3. But the interesting things are coming at second-gen Ray-Ban glasses this year too. So we have these Ray-Ban glasses that Meta have worked on before. But the more interesting thing, the AR glasses, the actual AR glasses, right? 2025 or 2027 is what the rumor is. You guys looking forward to AR?
Yeah, I think AR will have like better adaptation than VR because it's like an easier sell for people because, you know, it augments like and offers value to like anything you do, where VR by itself is just such a limited experience because it's like either games or like entertainment experience, but outside of anything else, it's kind of hard sell. So I think AR in my mind is going to do better, but I still believe in VR as well.
I think the big application of this to me is AR. Like, and I probably, if you follow me on YouTube, I've been talking about this for 5 years at least. I think it's the next, what I call the next screen shift. So when you look at screen shifts, we built things on desktop, then we went to a browser, and then we went to mobile. And if we have a pair of Ray-Ban glasses, or better yet, a really stylish pair of Apple glasses that you can wear around, that looks like the glasses that I'm wearing now, just regular glasses, but you can see information that is context sensitive to where you're at. It's hyper local. I mean, they can serve you ads that way. You could have a phone call. You could do lots of things with those glasses. I think that is a game changer, and it'll also change the way developers write code and the way we build things. So suddenly we're building websites one day. The next day we have to learn Unity or mobile development, because that's kind of what the glasses are going to support. I think that's the next thing. I'm not a biggest bullish on VR, other than I think it's more like Xbox, where eyeglass is more like the next iPhone.
Yeah.
And if you build the next iPhone, that's $1 billion or multi-billion-dollar business that will spawn companies, apps, and everything to do it. So I'm pretty bullish on AR happening. I think it will.
I'm just kind of curious about. I'm bullish on AR as well, but I'm just thinking like this must be a headache, or like, liability and legalities. Like, imagine if you're driving and a freaking AR pops up on the side near a gas station, and you're like, get good gas here, and then you're like, oh cool, and then you turn right, and then you crash into something, and you say, oh, it was because of AR that I got blah 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 blah, or you get run over by a car because you thought it was real, or you thought it was fake or something, right? Like, there's just like so many weird like scenarios that I can think of where
this distraction is already happening.
It could be messy.
You know what I mean? Like, you look at Wise or whatever that map app is, like it says, make sure you're not like clicking. Everything always pops on the screen. And I swear to God, I stopped using it because like I'm going to die right now, because I'm sick and tired of all these commercials and everything else, and this shows me while I'm driving.
The major difference between that is you're looking down at a phone or something, but this is like literally built into your like real.
All right, let's do an experiment
like in your vision, right? So it's so immersive that it can be like potentially just too immersive. Maybe
there'll be a driving mode.
No, I think like Kevin's saying, the drive mode. I think AR, it's adding additional information, but it's not taking away from what you're seeing, right? It's not like VR where you're like in this world where, like, for instance, I'm pretty sure I'll be safer driving. Like, think of fighter planes. They have the HUD display, which is projected on their screen. To me, that's what AR glass is going to be, versus like looking down at your phone while driving. That's going to way more dangerous. So that's my counter argument. AR is going to be way safer. If anything, it's going to tell me, watch out for that squirrel that's about to run in your car.
Well, I do think that if we get driverless cars to any degree, and it becomes like every car is driverless, that screen that you have, it will be your windshield, and you don't necessarily have to wear glasses. That it could be built into the car, into the HUD itself, and it just serves ads. The car takes you. Yeah, I like to go to that Chick-fil-A restaurant because it's serving an ad that says, "Bobby, get this sandwich right now for $2." And so you tell the car to go there. I think that's the other invention that could coincide with this by 2027, 2028, where cars are driving themselves. The real estate of the windshield is converted to an AR app, and it could just be a game changer. And that means that guys like us could write code, as long as we know how to write code for that.
Yeah.
How do we get our app in that new app store, that new ecosystem? And because I promise you, if this rolls out, there'll be no less than $3 billion companies that will spin out of this, that'll make an app that you didn't know you needed, that you have to have. And we don't know what that is yet, but like that will happen. It always happens with every screen shift.
A lot of people think about like their entertainment value, or the value of like, oh, it's going to, add value to what I'm doing. And I was like thinking about it. I'm like, what are the use cases for it? So I figured, like, for people who are like older, like in their 80s, 85, maybe they don't have like their family that come visit them. Maybe they can't go out to experience and have different like worlds. And it's like, you think about combine AI, AR, and VR, and now they're able to like talk to, or have a friend or have a companion where in their normal setting they wouldn't be able to. Like, if you think of people who are like bedridden or any of those cases. So I think, like, from that standpoint, having technology that will allow you to have slightly better quality of life just because you can't physically, I think that's like amazing.
Yeah, you definitely could. If you were inside bedridden, you could attend a church service or go to your kid's birthday party.
Exactly.
Or the family could come to you at Christmas or something like that. I think those are kind of things that could be a fascination and use for VR and those kind of experiences.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to build that. I'm building AR, VR girlfriend for myself, but but I'm saying it's the
You're
same
not currently
skill.
working on that.
It's
That's
the
not what we're
same
saying.
skill. I'm like Unity by night. I'm like, come on, C#. Let's code this together. I need to buy a different headset. This one is not good enough.
The question is, will your VR girlfriend break your air fryer? That's what we want to know. Will it break it? So.
Listen, yeah. Speaking of like,
let's move
let's
on.
move on.
I
was going to say the last thing.
Do we need to
a
devolve
terrible
into
1980s movie that I just discovered. The premise is so dumb, and I'm like, have to watch it. So in the future, there's something weird with romance. So like everybody has like robot girlfriends, and the whole premise of the movie, this dude's artificial girlfriend breaks, and he has to go find parts to replace her. And to go through this journey of finding parts, he meets like a real life woman and falls in love with her in real life. I'm like, that's exactly where the world's coming. It's called Sherry 2000. If you want to check it out, terrible 80s movie. But I'm like big into those, but I was like, yeah, that's the world. That's where we're heading.
Okay, with that said, let's move on. Let's talk about Twitter layoffs. So over the weekend, we're recording this on Wednesday. So last weekend, weird timing for this, but over the weekend, Twitter laid off 200 more employees. I think at this point, we don't know how many people work there, right? I don't think there's an official number for how many work there, but it's way less than the 7,500 peak they had, right? It's less than a couple thousand now. I mean, it's really quite a lot. So one of the people that got affected by this was the lady Esther Crawford. I don't know if you remember Esther Crawford. She's the lady who put the picture of herself on Twitter sleeping in the office, right? When Twitter became hardcore, right, she like jumped on the bandwagon. Esther jumped on the Twitter bandwagon. She was very much a vocal supporter of Twitter and Musk, and she was let go over the weekend. So I guess sleeping on your office floor doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a job or keep your job.
Keep your job.
Yeah.
Keep your job. Yeah. So the remaining employees, though, Elon said, like the day after this, said anybody who remains as of March 24th is going to get, in quotes, a very significant performance-based stock award. So I think at this point he's like, please stay. We can't afford, like, I know we've let a bunch of people go over the weekend, but please stay now. Please don't go. So what do you guys think?
He should have added like, you'll soon receive a very significant stock award until you get fired.
Yeah.
Basically. Because I'm sure they have a vesting schedule anyway. So
right, yeah, I know. The vesting
Plus, what's that stock going to be worth the way it's going? I don't know. It's not looking too hot, is it?
I have a different view than everyone else. Number one, this lady slept on the floor.
How do you know what our views are?
I don't know. Yeah, but you're probably right.
Go for it. Maybe not.
No, go ahead, Bobby. Tell me what my views are and say what the opposite is.
She slept on the floor. I think the average income for these middle managers, was right around $500,000. So she's making a lot of money. She wanted to keep her job. She thought it would help her keep her job, and it didn't. And everyone says, wow, you shouldn't sell it for the company. I don't think you should. I've never asked anyone to sleep on the floor here at Coder Foundry. So Kevin knows, I'm not like that. But I will say this. I don't think it hurt her in her next position. I don't think it hurt her to get her next role because people say, oh, she's committed to what she's doing. It was super public. She wanted to do it. Maybe she thought it was fun at the time, and now she gets fired, but she'll probably end up at Netflix or Google or somewhere else, Facebook, and make a lot of money. So I don't think it hurt her, but we can put too much emphasis on our jobs and it can take over our life, and it can cause us interpersonal relationships. So I don't think that should be the problem, but I feel like long-term, maybe it doesn't hurt her, but she won't sleep anywhere else again overnight, probably at the next position though. So
I have the same view as that. I don't think it hurts her. I think it actually it helped her. Yeah. I think it's fine. I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's fine. Doing it was fine. Like whether she got called out for it or not doesn't matter. She was like in the moment. It's fine. There was this thing happening. She was in on it. She wasn't forced to do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was a weird thing where she was forced to stay there. I think she was like they were rolling out a product. It was a big deal. Like I get it. She spent a night there. It's okay. I don't think it's a big deal. But then to like. The bigger deal is to go through that, post about it publicly, and then unceremoniously be fired.
Yeah,
like kind of sucks.
All right, so now Alex, tell us what you really think now. So now that I've spoken for you,
he's like, "Oh, you got it. That's exactly what I was thinking."
I don't know. I just can't. I can't advocate sleeping at the office.
Right.
Like, I think I've only done that maybe very early in my career, just because I worked in a manufacturing facility, which like required some 24-hour attention, like every day, 365 kind of thing. But I mean, what are you building? You're just building a social media platform. Like, what could require you to stay in the office for that long? You know, and I hate to be that person, because I think product managers are very important people. But like, do you ever watch that Silicon Valley episode where they're like trying to debug their AI or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, me and Guilfoyle stayed up all night debugging this," and he goes, "Yes, we did this." Like, it's like basically he just did everything himself while she was just standing next to him, right? Like, I just don't know what you could be delegating at that point in time, like that late. Just go home, get some rest. Like, like you'll be a better version of yourself the next day, right? Like, people just over sensationalize this concept of like staying 24/7 or I barely slept and now I'm going to keep working again. I actually saw this tweet from
I think this was a one-off
I hope
thing.
not. Yeah. And even a one-off thing, I think is still weird. But someone on Twitter actually mentioned, I won't say his name, but he was saying how basically people use this as like an opportunity to stick around for 2.0 and then be publicly recognized by none other than Elon, and gain favor and just raise the career ladder within Twitter, basically, because you remove so many employees. Now you're inevitably going to be at the top of the top, and then you'll gain favor, you'll make a lot of money, you might even get some social clout. All these things like people were like hyping up about, I guess, and this person might be one of them. I don't know, but still, like, it's just
I wouldn't doubt it. We only know who Esther Crawford is because she posted that photo. That's the only reason we know.
I have like a rule when it comes to like sleeping at your job. If you're not the one signing paychecks, you shouldn't be sleeping at work. You know what I mean? Go home, take it easy.
Yeah, only Bobby should be
right,
the one
exactly. If anybody, it's
he's at work right now.
Exactly, he's at work right now. He's got his little sleeping bag next to him, like, because he's got to wake up nice and early. Because that's how it is. Like, if you're not signing paychecks, it's like, what's the point? It's like you have like a life that you should enjoy and do things.
Here's the deal, though. What if it was fun? What if you were having a fun time doing whatever you're doing? I think that's her story here. I don't think she was forced to do it. I think she was in the midst of doing something. It's like it's like this product thing. She's really super into it, and she decided not to go home and just built the thing, and she's having fun doing it. I think then it's okay.
I think if you're in your early 20s, I guess that makes sense. You're right. Like, if you're young,
think that
and just like
when you
college,
look at other careers, like movies, if you're on a major movie set, it's 24/7 until that movie's done and shipped. And, if you work at a AAA game studio, it's probably heavy work hours until the thing ships out. Especially if you're like on Madden, like October 15th, Madden comes out. That means it comes out at October 15th, and that's just the way it is. And you like doing it, and then you burn out, and then you go do something else. But I don't think it's healthy long term, like Alex says. Not for yourself, it's not healthy long term. So if you're young and you have fun doing it, I think it's, I have never slept at work. If I did, it wouldn't be a sleeping bag, that's for sure. I would never be able to get off the floor the next morning. I'd have to have a Tempur-Pedic mattress with some, in other words, Elon would have to spend about $10,000 just on my bed so I could sleep at work. I would need a sound machine, a white noise machine. I would need lots of stuff.
Bobby, I'm going to call you out on that Madden reference. You should have used a different game. Madden, they're not building anything new there. They've been releasing the same game since 97. Since 97, it's like nothing new. They're just charging money for the same old.
No. Hold on. No.
They added for it. What? Why?
They keep adding in crappy AI
and
that
loot
ruins
boxes.
the game.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
That's what happens. That's all that happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know if about Madden because I never buy it. I used to buy FIFA
now.
religiously until they just ruined it with AI.
They
ruined the game.
Now.
It's terrible.
Exactly.
I never buy it anymore.
Yeah, never again.
Not an EA fan. Not an EA fan at all.
How does everyone feel about just Twitter in general now? Like, with this many employees, is it a roadmap to success, or is it just gonna be inevitably a failed experiment?
So just yesterday,
I know.
There was a Jack Dorsey-backed decentralized Twitter alternative beta put into the iOS store called Blue Sky. It's kind of like Mastodon, I guess, but there's an app It's beta only, so I suggest if you haven't signed up, go sign up. You can go to their website, you can put your email address in and sign up for part of the beta to get your username in there early. It's Jack Dorsey, who was one of the original creators of Twitter. It was actually originated inside of Twitter.
Nice.
It's actually it's a project from inside of Twitter that last year spun off and now has launched. So it's like, this is a very anti-Elon thing, I have a feeling.
I think
so.
I tried to join, and it actually just sent me to a career service page.
Nice.
So
knows where you work. They want you.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. You're the Alex Lee.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. You're still talking all this good stuff about, how you love Twitter. And so they're like, no.
I think in general, Elon bought a failing social media company anyway. I don't think it was making a lot of money to begin with. They had obviously way too many employees. And now they're trying to cut down to how many employees is the right size for Twitter. I don't know if they'll make it. And if they don't, I don't think the world's gonna end either. And if they do, it'll be fine. But I just think they're gonna cut and cut and cut until they either can't run the company or, they can get the size and the team right. I
think as soon as a good alternative comes along that is actually a viable alternative, it is dead.
What I do find interesting, I'm curious about you, Alex, because you've got more Twitter followers than all of us. Are you worried about an alternative coming in? Do you want one? Would you like it to happen? Or because we know that it's hard to catch lightning in a bottle twice. Like for us, if we're on YouTube, we have almost near 100,000 YouTube subscribers. Right. We find it next to impossible to gain traction on Twitter. And we try. We definitely try. We work at it, but it's hard. I'm wondering what you think. Do you want a new competitor? You feel like, hey, that's a new opportunity to redo what I'm doing, or please, Elon, make it. That's what you're hoping for.
Honestly, I'm rooting for Twitter just because of where I am. Yep. If you ask me about Instagram or some other stuff, I'd be like, sure, let's try another alternative. Just because basically blue sky or whatever you want to call it, if it gets popular, you want to get there in the beginning, not in the middle, right? And I feel like even with my Twitter account, it was just such bare bones, a couple hundred followers. That's it. But then I jumped on the fact, basically I jumped on when Twitter Spaces came out, and I was very early on Twitter Spaces. I was super bullish because I was on Clubhouse so much. But then I basically was on Twitter Space basically almost every single day, and that's how I grew my following to the numbers that it did. But essentially, if you think that this is a good opportunity, get in early is my suggestion.
Yeah. And I think, Kevin, that's where I land. Of do I think Blue Sky will work? And my answer is no, because of things like Clubhouse. When I see it's really hard to get people to switch over to something else, and social media seems to be more in the this is what it is. Here's the players it's going to be. Is there room for a new disruptor to come into space? There always is, but it's it's really hard to do. There's been a ton of people trying to make a Twitter clone, and none of them have been successful. I mean, for various reasons. I think it's because
various reasons. Yeah, I agree. But there's a reason people are trying to make Twitter clones, and it's because they see Twitter as ripe for being pilfered.
Yeah.
It is ripe for dying.
Yeah.
It's on the cusp of having a major breakdown. So people need a place to go. And whether there is one or not, Twitter could still die. But I think if there is one, it will kill it off. I think if we get a good one come along, I think people will just leave Twitter in mass. So I think they will.
I don't think
most people don't have 20,000 followers on Twitter. They just use it to read, not to contribute as much. I would say there's way more passive people on Twitter than there are active. So those people can move somewhere else.
I don't think Twitter's going to die. I think it's people that think, Twitter, look at how poorly it's doing. Let us make a company like Twitter and we could take the market share. But that's not what Elon is thinking. I think what he did is he was like, okay, I'm going to buy this failing company. And I'm guessing here. And he's like, I'm going to cut it as lean as I can to make sure that it's still able to function. I'm going to deal with the loss that we could take. And he's basically is going to try to make it. There's a website called Weibo in China, which is their main top social media platform. And what's really cool except the fact that it watches everything, but some of the cool features it has, it's you're able to purchase things just using the app. You're able to schedule doctor appointments. You're able to do so many different things. And I think that's what Elon is going to try to do, is to use an existing platform that he doesn't have to build from scratch and model some of the functionality that Weibo has. Because if you look at any social platform that currently exists in US, none of them do that. And so if he could have a centralized app, which will make ordering food really easy, checking your bank account very easy, like all these integrations that allow other companies to build whatever, like little apps that you'll be able to use from it. I think that's what he's trying to do. He's like, I have a platform and I'm going to try to change it to my idea of what it should be.
I think a week ago, I would have agreed with that more. I think this week I don't, based on the layoffs. By the way, the Esther Crawford lady was responsible for this new payment platform that they're supposed to be putting in. So I think they just fired a bunch of people who were supposed to be implementing those ideas. And maybe, but maybe that is his. I mean, I do agree. We need it's a genius idea to do that, to make the US version of that is a good thing. I'm not sure he's maybe not going about it the right way.
Yeah,
it doesn't spy on us.
I think for a Twitter competitor to really to make inroads is not, they can make a clone. A lot of people can make a Twitter clone. That's really not the hardest part of this. Building at scale is the hard part, but the other part is building the ad platform. And a lot of people underestimate like how these ad networks work and how people bid on ads, and therefore they get the price served to them. And so that behind the scenes is really difficult problem to solve. As you can see, a ton of people try to unseat Google from doing this, and no one can do it. I mean, like, no one can duplicate what they have, and it's really hard to make an ad platform that works and make it beneficial. And other than if you don't have ads, these things can't make money, as we've seen. You can go out to market and say it's $25 a month for every user, and Blue Sky will not take off. It has to be free to begin with. So they have to find a way to make money. The only way they do that is serve ads, and they have to build the ad network behind it. And there's a lot of manpower, people, and money and things that people way underestimate. People think Twitter's just the 140 characters or the 240 characters or whatever it is and it's way more complicated than that.
Here's another thing I wonder.
It's first comer's advantage, honestly. Like, right. Oh, sorry, I'll just say one thing. It's just first comer's advantage, and they have longevity with it. And it's easier to build something like Clubhouse on top of Twitter, but it's really hard to actually keep your users engaged every single day. And that's why I think like what TikTok did was once in a blue moon, right? Like Clubhouse had that initial spark and network effect because it was exclusive and all of those things. But eventually there was no really any strong reason to stay on the application, because that's, as much as people love talking to each other, they don't always love talking to each other either. So like Twitter provides like a variety of different things and new features they could build on top of their core platform. And trying to build an audience on a completely new platform requires a lot of commitment. That's why and Bobby, you're the gaming person, but Ninja on what's that streaming platform that
Twitch?
Died?
Or Mix?
No. Mixer, right? Yeah. Like not enough people were using Mixer. It's just, it didn't have, like, you could pay all the money you want to get streamers on your platform, but it's just not enough users and not enough of a network effect. So
correct me if I'm wrong, it was backed by Microsoft. Mixer was backed by Microsoft.
Yes, it was.
They have all that bank that they
unless
can make
Blue Sky suddenly, unless Blue Sky has some kind of weird like crypto, like 0.0001 cent to like $100, and then like they just basically use that to fund their platform. I don't know.
Here's
it's gonna be tough.
Another question I have. They laid off so many people, and obviously a lot of them were making like really high income. And so if they wanted to rehire similar talent, could they do it at a lower rate?
I think you can always find someone, and you can always find someone in that space. I mean, like, for sure. And also too, man, companies sometimes just need to have cuts. I mean, there's just too many people that work there. And like, it's frustrating when people get laid off, but most of them are high talent people. They're going to land anyway. I think if you're a software developer working at Twitter and you got cut over the weekend and you wanted a job, you could probably have one. And unless there's something that you just suck at your job, but they usually don't. You're usually pretty talented. They'll probably land somewhere else pretty quickly if they want one.
That's another argument some people make. Job market for newer developers is going to be harder because they have all this talent flowing around. And I'm like, the person that got hired from Twitter is not looking for your job. So you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's like they have a lifestyle. They have a certain income level that they have to make, and they're just going to go to another FAANG like company to similar role.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic then. Let's talk about our weekly, now new weekly bit, Skynet Watch. This is our weekly look into AI. This week's story I wanted to talk about Snapchat GPT. So Snapchat announced they're putting an AI chatbot called My AI in Snapchat. It's a chatbot. It's available to their Snapchat Plus subscribers at this point, which is a $4 a month subscription to Snapchat. So here's what they say. This was a quote about what you would use this for. It says, My AI can recommend birthday gift ideas for your BFF, plan a hiking trip for a long weekend, suggest a recipe for dinner, or even write a haiku about cheese for your cheddar-obsessed pal. So this made me think, why on earth do I need a chatbot in Snapchat? Is this not the dumbest idea ever, or is it just me?
I'm not a huge Snapchat user, but apparently they make a crap ton of money on ads. And if there's a way that you can associate these questions to paid advertisements, like, I think that would be the moneymaker, right? Like, yes, they'll give you the ChatGPT answers, but maybe for every one that, or they could associate a video, which would be even crazier, like somehow, and then do that type of integration. So like you're getting like a win-win where it's like an ad plus actual video that might have that specific thing. Let me
ask you questions because I'm a boomer. I don't even remember what Snapchat is or how to work. What does it do again? What is Snapchat?
Does anybody here use Snapchat?
No.
No, a lot of kids use it though.
So,
for a message. Like
the reason I say this is because,
and I say kids,
do people like follow others, or they literally use it to communicate with their friends, or is there like
no, it's following too. It's like there's a feed, there's a social feed.
Like if you think about
this is the best episode ever.
No, but this is
how does Snapchat work
what I was
again?
Gonna say is a lot of the kids that might be at Snapchat, like the younger generation, like if you think about the levels of depression that kids are suffering, this idea of feeling not connected with others because you're always on social, so they might socially interact with people, but they might not have actually real friends in real life or very small friend circle. And so having a chat like that, it's like, you could interact with them, have fun, have a cool conversation that they're not going to bully you. They're not going to say negative things to you. So it's like another way to engage with, like, I don't know, like how you would say it, like a pretend friend, or feel like to be part, like you have someone that cares for you. And I know that sounds crazy, but and I don't think that's right either, to create things like that.
So it's a digital imaginary friend.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I feel like social media for us as adults, we have like a history of like what it was like not having social media. We know how to live life like and interact with other humans. My daughter, for instance, she was born in a generation where she doesn't even believe me when I tell her iPhone never existed, right? It's not a thing. And think of the younger kids now, they're living their life all on social media, so they don't even know how to interact with people in real life. Like, this is how they interact. Instead of saying hello, they'll like text you or send you a message. Mm-hmm. Like, but you're sitting next to me. And so there's definitely like a very, detrimental effect it has on children. And maybe they're trying to figure out how to create a service where they could still have their cake and eat it too. It's like, we're hurting all this youth, but let's allow them to have friends, even though they're not real, and that will never be mean to them. I don't know. Like, I'm just like putting it out there, but I feel like they're just trying to figure out a way how to keep people engaged longer. I don't know, steal your attention more.
I just realized also that this AI isn't really meant for search, and it's more of like a companion.
Exactly. It's a friend. Yeah. It is a friend.
My tin hat. Where's it? Where's my tin hat?
No.
I'm gonna get a tin hat. I'm gonna have it here. I mean, to be honest, I use it as a friend, so that's how I know.
I still don't think this is a great idea.
I have Snapchat friends called Bobby, Kevin, and Alex, and I talk to them every day.
The fake Bobby relationship.
He probably made emojis out of all of our faces.
How'd you know? Hey,
or bitmojis, is that what they're called?
Yeah. I have a deeper take on this, which I think is more deeper about like AI in general. Like, I think where people overreacted to AI coming out, ChatGPT, it's amazing, it's going to replace all the human work. And what you're seeing now is people are sitting back and say, hey, I've got this AI thing. Who wants to pay for this? And like, because it's going to be really hard to monetize this thing at the level they needed to have. So I think the ultimate AI is going to be integrated into apps. And you're seeing the first versions of these. I don't think Snapchat's was especially creative. I mean, like they can say my AI on it all they want, but it's really just they slap ChatGPT on top of it and you can ask it questions. And so what I think is more important to ask ourselves is not if AI is taking over, which it won't, is where will we integrate it into products and how that be integrated? And I think that's where the money's at. Like, how can I use AI to make my product better? So AI isn't going to be an all-knowing oracle. It's just going to be a feature on every app that we see coming down the pipe. And so, whereas I've said this from the very beginning, people said, are we at the peak of this? And I'm like, yeah, GitHub Copilot for coding is the peak of this. Like, that's where it's going to be. It may get a little bit better about giving you example code and do it better, maybe more accurate. But at the end of the day, it's never going to write code for you. Like you have to tell it something. And I think that what we'll see is more features, AI type features integrated into products. They just got to get better than this one because it's kind of like, it feels like a bolt on top of Snapchat. And so if I was on the board there, like, really, that's what they're going to do? We're going to use it for that? Like, can we think of something better? I mean, like, and you'll see AI being pushed into other apps and having more features versus it being all-knowing oracle.
Yep. I think if you have a product these days that you're pitching to somebody and it doesn't have a checkbox that says AI.
Yeah, it's like, no.
It's like, we don't want that. As soon as you add AI to it, it's like, oh yeah, we're interested in that. Like, what is that? Like, it's going to be a thing.
The companies that I see doing well, like creating SaaS services with AI and they're charging a premium are the ones that basically take your domain knowledge that you have and train their model to give better solutions based on your domain knowledge data. So like you could have a company that has as an example, all their documentation. They will train a model to make it easier for people to find answers when interacting with your product or your website and like stuff like that. Like it's got to have like value use case that people willing to pay money than just being like, hey, my friend that I chat to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's the solution. That's not the solution. I don't think there's a business there if that's the end goal of this, where we can just ask.
I just felt like they had to check a box. They had to say, well, now with AI.
We're at like Snapchat AI enabled, Web 4. Let's call it Web 4. We can coin the term.
Let's not. Please not.
Here's the thing that I get upset about. Like there's a lot of models that obviously are not free and there's some open source. And so like I really love Midjourney, but I don't want to pay their monthly thing, whatever the cost is, for their stupid images. So I decided that I'm going to download Stable Diffusion and make my own Midjourney website that you all can use for cheaper price. I'm not going to make it free. I'm a business.
Yeah, so you have to pay for electricity. So you have to find a good.
That's true too. I'll have to charge people. Exactly. Anybody wants to host my server at their house? That's the question.
Just get a night janitor position and put it in this crawl space.
But here's something I've been thinking about, and maybe you could have a chat at a later time about this. So a lot of these companies that create these models, they don't make them open source. And so as an individual, for you to have access to the power of AI, it's like you can't. And obviously there's also people that are making open source, AI language models. And to me, it's like you're my hero because you're creating something that you're sharing with everybody else and they could have equal footing on using AI. Imagine if every big corporation controlled some sort of AI model and you had to literally pay to use it and you had no option as an individual.
Well, I think that's what you're seeing. Microsoft has one. Google has one.
Terrible.
AWS announced one, like Amazon has announced one now and said ours is better than theirs. We haven't seen it yet, but they're saying it's better, and so that's the three biggest companies. The only one that hasn't announced one is Apple, which
I'm sure they will.
I'm sure they'll do it too. And so by the time you do that, that's all four of them. And, the last thing we want to see is ChatGPT in Netflix. We're trying to watch the movie and you're like, hey, you could, search for it,
It'll be funny. It's like, you won't like this movie. You're not even going to, it's just like, don't watch it. That's just starts talking trash to you. It's like, yeah, it's like, whatever.
Well, it does make me wonder where else can we shoehorn AI into? Like, is it gonna is it just gonna be a thing? We're gonna see it everywhere.
Podcasts,
like podcasts. Well, we already
AI
have.
just talking to other AIs.
Well, there already is. There's AI editing tools for podcasts already that remove.
No. The guests themselves are AIs. You fill them with like personalities before you start the podcast, and then you just have them talk to each other.
Which is funny because I have like made a bunch of videos where I used everything AI, like text AI, video AI. So I have this pretend character called Ava, and so I was like, maybe I should do like a video where it's me and her like co-hosting a show. And it'd be like super stupid, but
tell me how that works out.
So, I don't have time for that. It's like, it's an idea that I'm not going to explore, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, actually, to be honest, like as I made a bunch of this AI content and I mentioned it, there's no personality. You feel like there's no soul, and it's once like the excitement of using AI runs out, you're like, it's not a person. I don't like, because a lot of times, like I talk to Bobby, Kyle, even Alex, like for your opinion, right? If I knew you were AI, give me your opinion. I was like, well, it's not a real person. It doesn't have that life experience. So like that opinion, right or wrong, like I don't want to hear it. And so to me, it's like, I'm curious to see how far will this AI generated content will go. And I'm going to make an assumption that we're going to get to a point that we'll be able to call like, hey, this is AI generated. Because and I'm not interested anymore.
I think you'll see it. Back to your original question, where do you think we're going to see it next? I think you're going to see it. Yeah. Here's my idea. Like if I was pitching something to Microsoft right now, I think I would write an AI extension inside of Teams. And what it would do is it would summarize the meeting and then email the action points to the individuals that were required to do that. So then you get a summary right after that. And a lot of companies, if you're at a bank, if you've ever worked at a bank, there may be 8 at a board meeting or something like that. There's always someone that is taking notes during the meeting, and then they send out the board packet or the board notes or the notes of the meeting. But this one could like put things on your schedule. I could see AI doing that at a pretty good clip because the set that has to know about is very small. It's just that meeting. I don't need to know all of humanity and all of history. I can probably get it right 95, 98% of the time. And then I can send that out to the people, and it just makes it really quick and easy. And I can see that coming.
It doesn't have to be 100% right. You can get kind of 95% there, and then have it like human edited to the final version.
Right. Yeah. So if something went on your calendar from the AI bot, and you're like, no, I'm not doing that. Like you just take it off your calendar, but it could put it on there to remind you, send you a reminder, and then the notes could come out, and then you could read the action notes. I don't know. Do y'all does anyone else have action notes or meeting notes that are sent out after meetings?
It's all manual, so there's no real.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's the same everywhere.
My friend created a bot that takes notes for us in all the meetings and then sends us like the notes and the video by itself. Okay. It's pretty cool. But he's a smart dude.
I think that's something that OpenAI could do for Teams. It could do it for Slack. It could do it for whatever Google's thing's called. I forget, Hangouts or whatever it is, or whatever they call it now, meetings.
Yeah, I got another use case for AI, which I was like, this is brilliant, I think. Every idea I have that's brilliant ends up being stupid, but I'll still share it because this is going to be like where I share stupid ideas. So you know how you have like people try to call you and sell you stuff and there's just a bunch of scammers and you just have to waste like 5 minutes, be like, no, thank you, hang up or don't pick up. So why if you have AI that will pick up the phone and sound really, really interested and will do like everything it can in its power to continue the conversation for hours and hours and hours and be like, no, I'm going to do it. Sorry, just tell me more. And it's like those scammers will sit on the phone for like 3 hours and get like really upset, start swearing, and it just never ends. I think that's a good use of AI.
Thanks everybody for listening this week. We appreciate it. Come back again next week and we'll talk about some other great tech topics. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. We'll find out next week. So thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget, one thing I ask you to do, if you could, please share this podcast with somebody who you think would want to listen to it. We'll catch you again. See you next week.